is when you dress up as a character from any sort of series, like TV, books, computer games, video games, anime, absolutely anything, and it's you act as the character at conventions, as well as essentially for things like pictures and videos.
So there was a group actually a little while ago that started called Princesses of Toronto. That it started with just a bunch of cosplayers who all cosplayed Disney characters. That we would go together and we'd do like events and stuff, and we'd do birthday parties in hospitals and stuff. I became closer friends with a couple of the girls from it. So and then just collectively, one of them called the hospital and said, "Hey, we're a group of princesses. We can come in and do stuff." So it's all volunteer, and we go in every once in a while and just do it because it makes them happy. It makes my day, and it makes me happy, and I feel like I'm doing the right thing when I see them like just light up and smile like, "Oh my God, a princess came to visit me!" So it's great. It's a great feeling, and it makes you feel really worthwhile.
I think the biggest excitement comes from like meeting other people that like the stuff that you're wearing, or people that like the same series, and you get to like bond over that. And they can be like anyone. You could be like standing in line at Tim Hortons, and they might say like, "Oh yeah, I like that series," and you can like talk for the next 20 minutes. That might be the best part.
I think it's pretty open. I like the community, and I mean, there's no judging. Everybody can cosplay, so I think it's amazing.
Honestly, I love interacting with other people in costume. Like, people are typically very nice. They're typically kind of take your picture, and to some people that could be like annoying, but to me I think it's like the best compliment a cosplayer can ever get is for someone to stop and say, "Can I take your picture?" And it's like, absolutely, because where else are people dressed like this and actually know and appreciate the effort you put into wigs and the props and stuff? So I love interacting with people. It's really, really fun.
Cosplaying at cons, I really like them because people recognize me and we have an instant connection with them. People recognize me, so I like that. It's not about attention, it's more about how we connect as like a fan. So that's why I like cosplaying. Well, I went to my first Anime North 2 years ago, and I saw these great cosplayers, and I was like, wow, I could probably do that too. So here I am a year later, dressed up as, Sylvanas.
I think the cosplay community, especially at Anime North, is great. Like, you walk around and nobody's mean to you at all. Like, you just kind of walk around and everyone's like, "Whoa, you look so great." And even if you don't know them, especially if you don't know them actually, but yeah.
Well, my first cosplay experience was also at Anime North. It was a few years back. It wasn't as crowded as this year. This year is insanely crowded. It's awesome though. I like it.
This is actually the first time I'm cosplaying at a con. It's pretty great, but we just don't exactly know what's going on, so it's just been a lot of walking around.
I think Fan Expo last year because I got an interview with Teletoon, and that was kind of cool.
You plan the cosplay shoot by definitely learning the character a little bit, so hopefully the cosplayer has some ideas for what they want to see in like picture-wise, and that you have like an ideal location. So like, let's say you're taking Game of Thrones, you don't want to throw them into like an industrial setting. You don't want to throw them into like a parking garage because that wouldn't make sense. You want to have that sort of like open space that looks more like it would be out of the book or the TV series. Posing is extremely important. It's one of the most important things about cosplay photography. You need to have a good idea of how to pose people. The rule of three is like, there's so much you really need to know, especially when it comes to posing, because if you take a cosplayer and throw them into something that looks awkward, you can tell right away. Nobody wants to see a picture of themselves where they look awkward. Cosplay has honestly improved my overall appearance, like just my confidence in myself, because you have all these people who help you out with everything. Like, you have people who are your support system and who don't judge you because you're doing something. You have the people, it's pretty much a family. cosplay process is a long one. I mean, you start with watching whatever series or reading or playing, and then you fall in love with a character and you like their design and you can understand their personality well enough to kind of portray it, especially when you're cosplaying. And then it's the research, and that research is the longest part. You look up all pictures, you find any sort of reference you can, and then it's the fabric. And the fabric, I think, and the references are what take the longest time because you want to get everything spot on.
That's a good question. As I was working on it, me and my sister started it together, and this is actually a cone, and the hair is glued outside of the cones so that you don't have to use as much hair. And that, just doing that, took probably upwards of 6 or 7 hours. And then after that, it's basically filling in all the gaps with wefts and then doing the bangs separately with wefts and putting that on. So I'd say upwards of 10 hours for the wig. So this is my Millennium rod. This is made out of wood and clay. It didn't take too long, probably a day or two. But this dual disc did take quite a bit of time. This is PVC foam and sculpted foam, and I made cards myself as well. So this did take many weeks to do as well. But I figured I'm gonna do it. I don't like the shitty Mattel ones, to be honest. I wanted to make my own, so.
It took me the entire summer last year, so approximately a month and a half. Well, it starts with some designs on paper, and then you just trace it onto foam, and then you sort of shape the foam onto your body, I guess, and then you layer the foam, and then you just seal it, and then paint it, and then you have armor. There you go.
I was just trying to make something different, you know, just come up with new ideas, classic, unique, and this is what we came up with. My name is spelled in unknown font, right? So it spells out Umbreon right here on the chest. I also have skin badges around my belt. These are from Generation 2 Pokemon. This is mostly made up of EVA foam. All I did was just cut and form it, paint over it, and that's pretty much it. It's quite simple, but the process and the build itself, well, it takes time, right? But mostly just all EVA foam.
The longest I've spent on a cosplay probably would have been about 3 months, and that was doing Marion Hawk from Dragon Age 2. And that was absolutely awful, just because of how long everything took me. I didn't do time management very well, so it had taken me a lot longer than I had actually expected it to. The Warball alone was around, I think I said it was 100 and something. Yeah, so it was a lot of money, and that's just the armor, and there's not a lot of armor on Marion. Like, it's just the shoulders, the boots, and the breastplate, and that cost me an arm and a leg. But I think overall I would say around $250 to $300. Some of the armor that I made for Hawk. So they're all individual pieces that were essentially hot glued to a glove. So they're fully mobile, so you can still use your hand for the most part. I wouldn't recommend actually gluing them to yourself like I had done, because when things fall off and you need super glue, it sticks to your fingers and then you can't take your gloves off. And then you get things like boots, and boots are harder to make because you have to take into consideration the fact that your legs move when you walk, so you have to really worry about things rubbing together, because that will start to peel and it will start to bend. So you have to be really careful about things like that, which I really wasn't, but I mean, it happens the first time you do shit. And you get things a little more complicated, like making a functioning belt and pouches, but it just goes on your waist like so, and you slip your leg into this, and then you have the full bottom half of Hawk. When I completed that costume, I was so happy it was fucking done. Like, that was awful. Everything took a lot longer than I had expected, and it was hard seeing everything piece by piece. Like, I couldn't really visualize it without having everything on. So the second I had it done, it was just relief that it actually finished. It's amazing, like, to walk down the street and to really have somebody go, oh my god, you're so-and-so from this. Like, I can't explain it. Like, it's just this overwhelming feeling of just happiness, where somebody who appreciates the same things you do really understands the fact that you've put all this effort and time into it.